Jonas Carter had walked through too many wars to count. He had fought on worlds with names no human tongue could pronounce, against enemies whose strength and technology rivaled the mightiest fleets of the old Earth Alliance. He had survived battles where entire armies vanished in the blink of an eye. Yet after all those fights, Jonas found himself drifting, tired in a way that went deeper than muscle or bone. His mind was restless, haunted by faces that would not fade. Friends who had died in his arms, civilians who had vanished under alien bombardments, and enemies who had looked at him with fear he could never forget. For months, Jonas had wandered the outer colonies, hopping from one dusty spaceport to another, searching for something. He did not know what. Peace? Solitude? Or perhaps just a place where the ghosts of his past could not follow. The galaxy was vast, but even in its emptiest corners, memories had a way of catching up. Then one day, while scanning the listings for abandoned properties on a remote system, Jonas came across something unusual. It was an alien base, supposedly long abandoned, located on a barren moon circling a gas giant far from any human trade route. The ad was simple. Ancient alien research station, fully functional life support, remote, cheap. Buyer assumes all risk. Cheap. The word called to him. Cheap meant easy, simple, final. He wanted final. He booked passage immediately, his old shuttle rattling as it streaked toward the moon. The journey was quiet except for the hum of the engines and the occasional crackle of the long-dormant communications array. Jonas sat in his pilot's seat, his fingers drumming the armrest, thinking about the life he had left behind. He thought about the wars, the medals that had felt meaningless the moment they were pinned to his chest. And he thought about the small fleeting moments, like laughing with his squad under alien moons, sharing water in empty outposts, or listening to someone hum a song in a language he did not understand. When the shuttle descended toward the moon, Jonas caught his first glimpse of the base. It was massive. Unlike human architecture, the alien design was elegant and strange. The walls were made of a translucent material that shimmered faintly under the pale light of the gas giant. Towers spiraled upward, connected by hovering bridges that seemed to defy physics. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the entrances, though nothing moved. Jonas felt a shiver of awe. Even abandoned, the base seemed alive. He landed carefully on the central landing pad, the shuttle's thrusters kicking up silver dust. As the engines died, silence enveloped him, complete and absolute. No wind, no birds, not even the distant hum of planetary activity. Just the base. Jonas stepped out, his boots crunching on the strange, glassy surface. The air was breathable, filtered through the base's automated systems, but it had a faint metallic taste. He walked toward the main entrance, hand brushing against the smooth walls. The door slid open silently, revealing a hallway bathed in a soft, pulsating light. The design was alien, but familiar in a strange way. It seemed almost to anticipate movement, reacting subtly as he advanced. He explored the corridors slowly. Each room told a story, though he did not yet know its details. One chamber contained what looked like an alien laboratory. Tables were covered with devices that hummed faintly, some suspended in the air by unknown forces. Glass tubes lined the walls, empty now, but still warm to the touch. In another room, a storage area contained supplies, nutrient packs, tools, and containers of clear liquid whose purpose Jonas could only guess. He felt a quiet admiration for the civilization that had built all this. They had created something far beyond human technology, yet had left it behind. After a few hours, he reached what appeared to be the central hall. It was vast, with a ceiling that seemed to stretch endlessly, and walls that shimmered like liquid silver. In the center, a circular platform hovered slightly above the floor, its purpose unclear. Jonas sat on the edge of the platform, pulling out a small ration pack. He ate slowly, letting the silence settle over him. Here, in this abandoned alien base, no one would disturb him. No wars, no orders, no expectations. Only quiet, only space. As night, or whatever passed for night on this moon, fell, Jonas moved to a chamber he judged as a sleeping area. There were beds shaped from the same shimmering material, soft and supportive. He lay down, feeling the stress of decades melt from his shoulders. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to breathe fully. For the first time, he felt a strange, cautious sense of peace. Yet even in solitude, he could not escape the ghosts. His mind replayed battles, comrades' voices calling his name, the roar of engines and weapons. Jonas closed his eyes and tried to focus on the present, the soft hum of the base's life support, the strange glow of the walls, and the feeling of safety that had not touched him in decades. When he drifted into sleep, he dreamt of the alien owners of the base. They were tall with limbs longer than humans and eyes that seemed to reflect the stars themselves. They moved with a grace he had never seen in human beings. In his dream, they watched him silently, judging, curious, yet somehow understanding. He awoke with a start, the dream fading but leaving a lingering sense of being observed, though he was utterly alone. The next morning, Jonas walked through the base again, exploring sections he had not yet reached. One room contained strange devices with holographic interfaces. He pressed a few buttons and suddenly a hologram flickered to life, projecting images of the base as it once was. He saw aliens walking its halls, conducting experiments and overseeing colonies on distant worlds. The images showed technology far beyond anything humans had ever built. For a moment, Jonas forgot his own purpose, absorbed entirely in the lives of a civilization that had vanished long before he was born. Hours passed like minutes. Jonas felt both awe and a creeping sense of unease. How could a place so alive, so carefully constructed, be abandoned? And who had left it? He walked deeper into the base, each corridor bringing new wonders. Rooms that seemed to shift dimensions, walls that displayed landscapes from other planets, and consoles that hummed with energy, ready to respond to commands that only an alien mind could understand. By midday, Jonas had accepted a strange truth. He had found his final home. Not because it was comforting, but because it was untouched, silent, and indifferent. Here, he could exist without expectation. Here, he could die in peace if he chose. He returned to the central hall and sat once more on the hovering platform, looking around at the strange beauty of the place. For the first time in decades, he felt the weight of war lifting from his shoulders. For the first time, he allowed himself to imagine not fighting, not surviving, but simply being. And yet, as he sat there, a faint vibration ran through the floor. He paused, eyes scanning the hall. The vibration was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there. Nothing else moved. He waited, holding his breath. The base was supposed to be abandoned. It had been abandoned for decades. And yet, the feeling persisted, like the soft heartbeat of a place that was alive, even without its owners. Jonas's hand went to the edge of the platform, fingers brushing the cool surface. "It's just the old systems," he muttered to himself. "Nothing more." But even as he said it, a flicker of movement caught the corner of his eye. A shadow, darker than the dim glow of the walls, seemed to stretch across the hall. He rose slowly, alert, instincts from decades of war taking over. His gaze swept the hall, empty. No figures, no sound, only the soft hum of life support. Yet the shadow moved again, shifting against the walls, subtle but undeniable. Jonas swallowed hard. His heart pounded, not with fear, exactly, but with the sudden realization that perhaps for all the base's beauty and silence, he was not completely alone. He stepped forward cautiously, hand brushing against one of the hovering consoles. A display flickered to life, showing coordinates, planetary systems, and a message in a language he did not understand. The console reacted to him as if sensing his presence. He exhaled slowly, the thrill of discovery and the spark of uncertainty mingling. Maybe the base had always been alive in its own way. Or maybe, he thought, there was something or someone still here. Jonas leaned back, eyes on the soft light of the walls, realizing that this place which he had chosen for solitude and an ending might not give him the quiet death he expected. And for the first time in years, A flicker of curiosity sparked within him, a feeling he had long buried under scars, battles, and loss. Somewhere in the depths of the abandoned alien base, hidden from human eyes, the air seemed to pulse in response. Jonas did not know it yet, but the first threads of a story. The base did not sleep. Though it had been abandoned for decades or perhaps centuries, its systems hummed quietly, awaiting someone to move among its corridors. Jonas Carter had expected silence, emptiness, and maybe the comfort of final solitude. But the moment he triggered the holographic console the day before, a chain of subtle reactions began. Lights flickered softly, doors that had not moved in years slid open, and the air seemed to carry a faint resonance, as if the base itself had been waiting for him. Jonas spent the first morning wandering through the hallways, examining the alien devices that floated in midair or reacted to his touch. He tried pressing more buttons, cautious now, and discovered that some machines projected holographic archives, snapshots, of the base's past. The first projection appeared with a soft hum, filling the hall with light and images. A tall, graceful alien moved through the central chamber. Its skin was pale and almost translucent, and its eyes were like deep pools of starlight. It handled a floating console with ease, touching panels that rearranged themselves according to its gestures. Around the alien, the base was alive. Doors opened and closed, machines whirred with energy, and corridors shifted subtly to accommodate the movements of its master. Jonas's breath caught. This was the original owner of the base. The alien moved with confidence, and yet there was intelligence in every motion, a precision honed over years of research and exploration. Jonas felt a strange mixture of awe and humility. He was a human soldier, trained for war, yet he had never seen skill like this. He watched the hologram for hours, fascinated. The alien, whom he would later learn was named Lyrian, moved with purpose, examining equipment, adjusting settings, and monitoring distant worlds through the base's communication arrays. Holographic maps of planets and colonies shimmered around Lyrian, projecting not just information, but the history of a civilization far older than humanity. Jonas felt a pang of regret as he observed the alien's work. He had spent decades fighting wars that had cost countless lives. Lyrian, in contrast, seemed to have spent life building, discovering, protecting. Jonas wondered if he had wasted his years on death when life had so much more potential. The hum of the base continued as Jonas explored another chamber. This one appeared to be a storage area, filled with clear containers of liquid, stacks of tools, and boxes with symbols he did not recognize. He touched one container cautiously, and it responded, floating up slightly as if acknowledging his presence. He pulled his hand back quickly, feeling both nervous and thrilled. The base was alive in ways he did not understand. As he walked deeper into the base, he discovered a room that seemed to serve as a laboratory. Devices floated in midair, their energy fields forming complex patterns that Jonas could only describe as beautiful. He pressed a button on one console, and suddenly, a projection appeared. An alien performing experiments, adjusting machinery, observing results, and recording data. It was as if he was watching Lyrian's life in motion. Jonas realized that he was not just observing history. The base itself was showing him how it had been used, how Lyrian had lived and worked within these walls. Each projection told a story. A world saved from disaster, an experiment that expanded knowledge, a decision that had influenced countless lives. Jonas felt both humbled and inspired. He had fought for survival, but Lyrian had fought for progress. He spent the rest of the day moving from room to room, watching projections and discovering new features of the base. Some chambers were storage, areas for alien vehicles, their sleek forms hovering silently. Others contained holographic interfaces that allowed monitoring of planets light years away. Jonas touched one projection, and a map of the galaxy expanded, showing planets, star systems, and colonies he had never imagined. While exploring, he felt the subtle vibrations again, the small pulses in the floor that hinted at life beyond what he could see. He tried to dismiss it as the base adjusting to his presence, yet the feeling persisted. It was not threatening. It was curious, almost like the base was observing him as he observed it. By evening, Jonas had returned to the central hall. He sat on the hovering platform, exhausted but alert. He was learning that the base was far more than a structure of metal and light. It was a repository of knowledge, history, and intelligence. Every system seemed connected, anticipating needs, adjusting environments, and responding to his presence. As he rested, a sudden sound echoed through the hall. It was faint at first, a soft hum that grew steadily into a rhythmic pattern. Jonas rose quickly, scanning the hall. The lights flickered in response, shadows stretching along the walls. Then he saw it, a figure emerging from the far end of the central hall. It was Lyrian, alive. Not a hologram, not a projection, but real. The alien moved gracefully, eyes reflecting the soft glow of the walls. Jonas froze, unsure whether to speak, move, or hide. His instincts screamed caution, but curiosity held him in place. Lyrian stopped a few meters away, tilting their head, slightly observing Jonas. There was no hostility, but there was assessment. Jonas felt the weight of those alien eyes studying him, reading not just his actions but his thoughts. He wondered what Lyrian saw. A human who had wandered here by accident, or someone significant. Jonas swallowed hard. I didn't mean to intrude, he said, voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. I bought this base, I wanted a place to be alone. Lyrian did not respond immediately. Instead, they extended a slender hand toward one of the floating consoles, activating a holographic map of the base. The projections shifted and rearranged themselves, displaying not only the base's structure but also distant worlds it had monitored. Jonas realized Lyrian was showing him the scope of their life's work, the purpose behind the abandoned walls he had found. He took a careful step forward, feeling both fear and awe. This place, it's incredible, he said. I don't even understand half of it. Lyrian's eyes seemed to soften slightly, as if acknowledging his honesty. Then, with a gesture, they activated another console, revealing a section of the base Jonas had not yet discovered. A small maintenance room opened, showing tools, spare parts, and delicate machinery. Lyrian handed him a floating device hovering in mid-air. Jonas took it cautiously. It felt warm to the touch, responsive as if it recognized him. I don't know if I can help, Jonas admitted. I'm just a soldier, not a scientist or engineer. Lyrian's head tilted again. Then, with subtle grace, they motioned toward a failing system in the corner. Jonas examined it, recognizing the problem not through alien knowledge but through human experience. Wiring, energy flow, and balance. Using his hands, he adjusted a few components, improvising a solution with tools from the maintenance room. The light stabilized, the hum of the system returned to normal, and the floating projection smoothed into steady motion. Lyrian watched silently, eyes reflecting something Jonas had not expected: approval. For the first time in years, Jonas felt a spark of pride, not for surviving, not for fighting, but for being useful. He had made a difference, not in battle, but in life, even if it was alien and unfamiliar. Lyrian stepped closer, the soft glow of the walls highlighting the curves of their form. They reached toward another console, showing Jonas data he could barely interpret. Yet he understood enough. This base, abandoned or not, was alive in purpose, and he had just become part of that purpose. Hours passed as Jonas worked alongside Lyrian, learning slowly, adapting his human instincts to the alien systems. Though the technology was advanced, Jonas realized that problem-solving, observation, and patience were universal skills. His experience as a soldier, surviving impossible situations, gave him an edge even in a world far beyond human understanding. By the time Jonas paused to rest, he felt a strange combination of exhaustion and exhilaration. He was no longer just a man seeking solitude to die in peace. He had discovered something unexpected: connection, purpose, and even hope. Lyrian, standing nearby, watched him quietly. Their expression was unreadable to Jonas, but he sensed that the alien recognized more than his actions. They saw the heart of a human, battle-hardened yet capable of growth, courage, and care. As Jonas sat on the hovering platform, the base seemed to pulse softly around him. It was no longer just walls, machinery, and light. It was a living repository of experience, waiting to guide and challenge those worthy enough to understand it. And Jonas Carter, the weary veteran, had already taken the first step toward becoming part of something far greater than himself. Somewhere deep in the shadows of the base, a system activated silently, a low hum, almost imperceptible. Jonas did not notice it yet, but the presence was there, watching, waiting, anticipating. And in that quiet, the foundation was laid for a relationship neither human nor alien had expected. A partnership born from trust, courage, and the unexpected meeting of two very different worlds. Jonas leaned back, closing his eyes for a brief moment. He had thought he came here to die. Instead, he had found the beginning of a story he never imagined, one that would challenge, you said. The next morning, Jonas woke to the soft hum of the base. Sunlight did not reach this place, yet the corridors glowed with the quiet energy of life. He stretched and took a deep breath, the smell of clean metal and faint ozone filling his lungs. The memory of Lyrian standing silently the previous night lingered in his mind. That alien presence had been unsettling at first, but now it carried a strange comfort. He rose and began exploring the central hall again. Holographic projections of star systems floated gently in the air. Jonas reached out to touch one, and it responded, zooming into a planet that shimmered in pale green and blue. He had seen similar projections yesterday, but today, he felt a different connection. He was starting to understand the base in ways that went beyond mechanics and circuits. Lyrian appeared without sound, as if emerging from the walls themselves. Jonas jumped slightly but quickly composed himself. The alien's eyes were calm, deep, and unreadable, yet there was a softness now that had not been there before. "You did well yesterday," Lyrian said, their voice a gentle hum, almost melodic. "You solved a problem few could understand. Most would have caused more damage." Jonas nodded, unsure how to respond. I did what I could. I don't know your systems, but I understand machines, that's all." Lyrian tilted their head. "Understanding is not enough. Action matters. You acted, and that matters more than knowledge alone." Jonas felt a sense of pride swell in him. Lyrian's words were simple, yet profound. He had spent years following orders, fighting battles he barely understood. Here, in this alien base, he realized that his choices, his courage, and his ability to act mattered in ways that went beyond war. Lyrian gestured toward a corridor he had not explored. The wall shifted slightly, revealing a new path lined with floating panels displaying streams of information. Jonas followed, curiosity overcoming caution. The panels glowed softly, showing maps of distant worlds, colonies, and scientific observations. "This way," Lyrian said. "You will learn more today. You will see what the base is capable of, and what we can achieve together." Jonas followed, feeling a thrill he had not experienced in years. He had spent decades in conflict, surviving one mission after another, yet nothing had ever felt as alive, as purposeful as this. The base seemed to respond to him now, almost as if it had accepted his presence. They arrived in a chamber that Jonas would later call the observation room. Transparent walls allowed a view of the planet below, its surface covered in vast oceans and dense forests. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing weather patterns, resource deposits, and intricate energy grids. Jonas had never seen such a sophisticated monitoring system. Lyrian moved to one of the floating consoles, their hands tracing symbols that Jonas did not recognize. The hologram shifted, revealing a small colony on a distant moon. Humans lived there, apparently unaware of the alien technology observing them. "Humans?" Jonas asked, surprised. "You've been watching them?" Lyrian nodded. "Observation does not mean interference. Understanding requires seeing without influencing. But you are different. You act. That is rare." Jonas felt a mix of pride and unease. The alien's words reminded him of his own nature. Humans were active participants in the universe, not passive observers. He wondered what Lyrian thought of humanity of his kind. Were humans reckless, brave, curious, or all of these at once? Lyrian seemed to read his thoughts. Humans are unpredictable yet capable of greatness. Your kind does not wait for perfection. You act, learn, and adapt. That is why I am interested in you. Jonas felt a chill run down his spine. The alien's interest was not casual. It was deliberate, calculated, and somehow personal. He had never been chosen for anything so significant in his life. Lyrian continued, showing him holograms of planets that had once been home to alien civilizations. Some had flourished, others had collapsed due to wars, environmental disasters, or internal conflicts. Jonas realized that the alien had witnessed the rise and fall of entire worlds. Their knowledge was immense, far beyond human comprehension. And yet, they trusted him. Jonas spent the next hours learning from Lyrian. They taught him how to manipulate energy fields, how to interpret alien data, and how to stabilize the base's more sensitive systems. Jonas was a quick learner, his mind trained for adaptability. He absorbed knowledge like a sponge, feeling a growing sense of capability. At one point, Lyrian paused and watched him carefully. You are not just learning. You are evolving. That is rare among humans. Jonas laughed softly. I'm just trying not to break anything. Lyrian's eyes glimmered faintly, and a small smile appeared on their face, a rare expression. Do not underestimate yourself. You are more than a soldier. You have the potential to be a creator, a protector, a guide. The base has chosen you, and so have I. The words struck Jonas deeply. He had spent years feeling like a tool, a weapon, used by others for their goals. Here he was being recognized for who he was, not just what he could do. Suddenly, the base shivered, a small pulse that ran through the floor, walls, and ceiling. Jonas froze, sensing an unfamiliar presence. Lyrian's eyes narrowed, scanning the room. Someone or something approaches. We are not alone. Jonas followed their gaze to the corridor. Faint shadows moved along the walls, and he felt a subtle vibration in the air. The base was alive, and it had detected the intrusion. Jonas felt a surge of adrenaline. Years of combat training returned instinctively. Assess, plan, act. Lyrian raised a hand, and the holographic displays shifted, forming barriers between them and the approaching entity. Jonas realized that the base could defend itself, but it needed him to act as well. A figure emerged from the shadows, a small drone-like machine, its surface metallic and sharp-edged. Jonas recognized it as a reconnaissance unit, possibly sent by others who had tracked him here. It moved cautiously, scanning for life forms, unaware of Lyrian's presence. Jonas stepped forward, hands raised slightly, a gesture of non-aggression. The drone paused, its sensors focusing on him. He studied it carefully, noting its weaknesses and potential control points. Do not destroy it unless necessary, Lyrian said softly. We can learn more by observing. Jonas nodded, assessing the situation. Using his knowledge of machinery, he carefully manipulated the drone's sensors, sending signals that confused its programming. The drone froze, then turned and retreated down the corridor, harmless but neutralized. Lyrian studied him with a faint smile. Clever. You are not only a soldier, you are an innovator. That is why you survived this long and why you survived here. Jonas felt a thrill of accomplishment. He had faced countless dangers in his life, yet this felt different. Here, in this alien base, he was not just surviving. He was mastering, learning, and participating in a living system far beyond human understanding. The day wore on with more lessons and more exploration. Lyrian guided Jonas through complex energy systems, teaching him how to stabilize unstable nodes and manipulate power flows without damaging the base. Jonas felt a growing bond with the alien, not just respect but understanding. Their partnership was forming, built on trust, knowledge, and mutual purpose. As night, or what passed for night in the base, approached, Jonas sat on the central platform, exhausted but exhilarated. Lyrian joined him silently, their presence comforting rather than intimidating. "You have done well today," Lyrian said quietly. "Tomorrow you will face new challenges. The base will test you. Its systems are designed to push you, to see if you are worthy of its trust." Jonas nodded, feeling anticipation instead of fear. He had survived battles, wars, and impossible odds. This was different, yet the challenge was no less significant. He felt ready. Lyrian extended a hand toward him. "Rest now. The base will continue its observation. It will adapt, prepare, and guide. You are part of it now. And together, we will see what humans can achieve beyond their world." Jonas took a deep breath, looking around the central hall. The holographic projections shimmered, casting soft light on the walls. He felt a sense of belonging he had not known in years. He was no longer just a soldier lost in the galaxy. He was a participant in something greater, something alive and aware, something that could shape the universe itself. As he settled down, he thought about the human colonies Lyrian had shown him, the history of alien civilizations, and the vast knowledge stored within the base. He realized that he had stumbled upon more than an abandoned structure. He had found a bridge between species, a way for humanity to learn, grow, and achieve greatness. And somewhere in the quiet hum of the base, Jonas sensed a pulse, a subtle rhythmic vibration that was not fear, not threat, but expectation. The base, Lyrian, and he were preparing for something extraordinary. Jonas closed his eyes, letting the warmth of the base and the presence of Lyrian surround him. The next day, Jonas awoke to a soft vibration that ran through the floor of the base. It was subtle yet unmistakable, a signal that something was about to happen. Lyrian was already waiting, standing near the main console with the same calm, unreadable expression, yet Jonas could sense a hint of anticipation in their posture. "Today," Lyrian said, their voice smooth and even, "you will face the first real test. Not of strength, but of your understanding. The base will challenge you and you must respond." Jonas felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He had already seen glimpses of the base's capabilities, but now he understood that it was not just a structure, it was a living system, aware and responsive. And today, it would put him to the ultimate test. Lyrian led him to a chamber that Jonas had never seen before. It was vast, circular, with walls covered in intricate panels that pulsed faintly with energy. In the center floated a holographic representation of a star system, with planets, moons, and asteroids rotating slowly. Jonas recognized some patterns, while others were completely alien to him. "This simulation," Lyrian explained, "represents a real system in danger. You must navigate it, stabilize it, and prevent collapse. The base will provide guidance, but your decisions must be your own. The test is not about speed. It is about comprehension, creativity, and judgment." Jonas stepped forward, feeling the hum of the floor beneath his boots. He reached out and the holographic planets responded to his touch, spinning faster or slowing down based on his movements. The simulation was complex, with multiple variables that changed in real time. Jonas knew that one wrong move could destabilize the entire system. Lyrian observed silently. "Remember," they said finally, "the system is not just data. It is alive in its own way. Respect it and it will respond. Ignore it, and it will resist." Jonas took a deep breath. He had faced danger before, but this was different. He was not fighting an enemy with weapons. He was navigating a living system, one that demanded understanding and empathy. His fingers danced over the holograms, adjusting planetary orbits, stabilizing energy flows, and redirecting power to threatened areas. Hours passed, though Jonas lost all sense of time. The base pulsed around him, reacting to his decisions. Sometimes, it gave subtle cues, faint shifts in light or vibrations underfoot when he made correct choices. Other times, alarms would sound when he misjudged a planetary alignment, forcing him to quickly correct his errors. Lyrian did not intervene, only watching, letting Jonas learn through action. There was no pressure from an external authority, only the silent expectation of the base and the alien standing beside him. Jonas realized that this was the first time he had been tested not for obedience, but for true capability. At one point, a sudden anomaly appeared in the simulation, a rogue asteroid moving unpredictably toward a fragile colony on a moon. Jonas instinctively reached for the controls, calculating trajectories, energy requirements, and possible outcomes. He could redirect the asteroid, but it would destabilize another planet if done incorrectly. Jonas paused, thinking through every possible move. He remembered Lyrian's words, "Respect the system." The solution was not brute force. It was subtle adjustment, careful guidance, understanding the natural balance of the system. He altered the asteroid's path in small increments, nudging it gently, and watched as the moon's colony survived without endangering the other planets. Lyrian's eyes glimmered faintly. "Excellent," they said softly. "You are beginning to understand. The system responds not to domination, but to insight." Jonas felt a surge of pride. He had been trained for years to fight, to survive, to win at any cost. But this required thought, patience, and respect. He realized that his humanity, the very qualities that sometimes seemed like weaknesses in war, were what allowed him to succeed here. The base seemed to hum with approval, the panels glowing brighter, energy flows stabilizing, and the holographic planets spinning smoothly. Jonas felt a connection he had never felt before, not just to the base but to something larger, something that represented potential, life, and the future. Lyrian led him to a smaller chamber afterward, where the air was cooler and the lighting softer. A table floated in the center, displaying what looked like a miniature version of the base itself. Tiny energy streams moved within it, representing power distribution, structural integrity, and life support systems. "This," Lyrian said, "is the core. It sustains the entire base. Today, you will interact with it directly." Jonas approached, cautiously. He had learned from experience that touching alien systems without understanding could be dangerous, but Lyrian's presence was reassuring. He reached out and placed his hands on the glowing structure. Immediately, he felt a flow of information, not words but patterns, sensations, and understanding. The base communicated with him in its own language, subtle and intricate. Jonas realized that the core was aware of him, evaluating him, guiding him. His mind worked to interpret the patterns, to respond, to balance energy flows and stabilize the system. For hours, he worked, adjusting power levels, recalibrating life support, and responding to fluctuations. The base seemed alive in every sense, reacting to his touch, guiding him and testing him. Jonas was exhausted, but exhilarated. This was not a task imposed by fear or duty. It was a challenge of intellect, patience, and empathy. At one point, a surge of energy threatened to overload the system. Jonas acted quickly, rerouting power, stabilizing the core, and preventing a catastrophic failure. He felt a pulse of relief as the base hummed steadily once more, the miniature structure glowing evenly. Lyrian observed silently. "You have done well," they said finally. "Few humans could accomplish this. You are learning not just to survive, but to coexist with something greater than yourself." Jonas exhaled, leaning against the edge of the table. He felt a deep satisfaction. For the first time in years, he was not just surviving. He was participating, creating, and shaping outcomes that mattered. His actions had consequences, yes, but they were guided by understanding and care, not mere instinct. As the day drew to a close, Lyrian led Jonas to the observation deck once more. The planet below shimmered under the base's lights, and the Tau stars beyond twinkled like distant beacons. Jonas could see human colonies, alien outposts, and uncharted regions of space. He realized that the universe was far larger, more complex, and more interconnected than he had ever imagined. "You have done well today," Lyrian said again, their voice calm and firm. "But tomorrow will be different. The base will test Your ability to lead, not just to understand. You will face challenges that require judgment, courage, and foresight. Are you ready? Jonas looked at the vastness before him and felt a sense of determination. He had survived countless battles, navigated countless crises, and faced death more times than he could count. Yet this was a challenge of the mind, spirit, and heart, and he felt ready. "I'm ready," he said simply. Lyrian's eyes glimmered faintly, and they inclined their head. "Good. Rest now. The base will continue its observation, and you will continue to learn. Remember, understanding is not enough. Action guided by insight is what shapes the future." Jonas sat quietly, letting the hum of the base and the presence of Lyrian settle over him. For the first time in his life, he felt part of something larger, something alive, and something meaningful. He was no longer just a human soldier lost in space. He was a participant in a living, thinking system, one that offered knowledge, challenge, and purpose beyond anything he had ever known. As he closed his eyes, he thought about the day's lessons, the lives he had influenced, and the worlds he had touched, even in simulation. The universe was vast, filled with dangers, wonders, and possibilities. But for the first time, he did not feel alone or powerless. Lyrian's presence was calm beside him, a reminder that he was not facing these challenges alone. Together, human and alien, soldier and base, they were beginning to shape something extraordinary, something that could change the course of the universe itself. Jonas drifted into a deep, restful sleep, knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, and new opportunities to prove himself. He had survived, he had learned, and he had grown. And he knew that the path ahead, though difficult, was one he could face with courage, insight, and determination. And somewhere in the quiet hum of the base, Jonas felt a subtle pulse, a reminder that the living system he had come to understand was watching, guiding, and preparing him for what was to come. Jonas woke with a start. The base's hum was louder than usual, vibrating through every wall, floor, and corridor. Something had changed overnight. Lyrian stood nearby, their posture alert and purposeful, a slight tension in their movements that Jonas had never seen before. "The final test begins today," Lyrian said. Their voice carried no judgment, only quiet expectation. "You have learned to understand, to act with insight, and to respect the system. Today, the base will test your ability to lead, decide, and protect life beyond your own perception." Jonas felt a mix of anticipation and determination. He had faced countless dangers as a soldier, yet the challenges here were different. They were not about defeating enemies with guns or strategy. They were about navigating, influencing, and protecting an intelligent, reactive system that could either respond to him or resist him. Lyrian led Jonas to the central chamber. The walls were lined with panels of glowing symbols, circuits and energy flows, all pulsating with life. The holographic star system floated in the center, but now it was far more complex than before. Multiple colonies were under threat from natural disasters, asteroid collisions, and unpredictable energy surges. "This," Lyrian explained, "is a real system. The events you see are unfolding simultaneously across the galaxy. The base will allow you to intervene in real time. You must stabilize the system, protect life, and make decisions as they come. Failure is possible, but hesitation will guarantee it." Jonas stepped closer. His fingers brushed the holographic planets, feeling their rotation, the subtle gravitational pulls, and the delicate balance of energy. The stakes were higher than ever. One wrong move could lead to catastrophic loss. He took a deep breath and allowed his instincts to merge with the knowledge he had gained. Hours passed. Jonas coordinated energy flows, stabilized planetary rotations, and redirected threats away from vulnerable colonies. The base responded to his decisions with subtle guidance, flashes of light, vibrations underfoot, and adjustments in the holographic display that confirmed his actions were correct. At one point, a massive solar storm threatened to engulf a cluster of colonies. Jonas knew that direct intervention could destabilize nearby planets, but inaction would lead to disaster. He focused, analyzing energy patterns, planetary shields, and the precise timing of rotations. He issued a series of calculated adjustments. The shields held, the planets remained stable, and the colonies survived. Jonas felt a thrill of relief and pride. The base's energy pulsed steadily, almost as if acknowledging his success. Lyrian's expression, however, remained calm, their eyes studying him intently. Suddenly, an unexpected anomaly appeared. A rogue fleet of unmanned satellites from a neighboring system, careening uncontrollably toward the colonies. Jonas's mind raced. He could not simply destroy them. That would create debris, increasing future risks. He needed another solution. He remembered Lyrian's words. Respect the system. Influence. Don't dominate. Jonas quickly analyzed the satellite's trajectories and energy cores. Using subtle adjustments, he synchronized their energy fields with nearby planetary shields, redirecting the fleet into a safe orbit around an uninhabited planet. The satellites no longer posed a threat, and the colonies were safe. Lyrian's eyes glimmered faintly. Impressive, they said softly. You are beginning to understand the true meaning of leadership. It is not about control, but about harmony and protection. Jonas continued his work, moving seamlessly from one crisis to another. Each challenge tested different skills: his foresight, his problem-solving, and his ability to remain calm under pressure. The base reacted dynamically, creating new obstacles to push him further. Jonas realized that this was more than a test. It was a transformation. Hours melted into one another, but Jonas did not feel exhaustion in the same way he had before. Every decision, every adjustment, strengthened his connection to the base. He could sense its patterns, anticipate its reactions, and act with precision. What had once seemed alien and incomprehensible now felt like an extension of himself. Finally, the most dangerous challenge appeared: a collapsing star in the system's center, threatening to obliterate multiple planets and colonies. Jonas's heart pounded. He had never faced a threat of this magnitude. The energy required to stabilize it was immense, and even minor errors could result in total annihilation. He paused, taking a deep breath. The base pulsed around him, almost as if encouraging him to focus. Jonas's mind raced through possibilities, analyzing every variable, every energy pathway. He remembered every lesson he had learned, every subtle hint the base had offered, and every moment of guidance from Lyrian. Carefully, Jonas began the process. He redirected energy flows, stabilized the collapsing core, and created a feedback loop to absorb excess power. It was delicate work, requiring precision, patience, and insight. Sweat ran down his forehead as he adjusted, recalibrated, and fine-tuned the system. Time seemed to stretch. Jonas felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him, but he did not falter. He could feel the base responding, supporting his efforts and stabilizing the massive energy flows. Slowly, steadily, the star's collapse slowed. The surrounding planets adjusted, energy streams balanced, and the colonies were safe. Finally, a wave of calm pulsed through the chamber. The base's systems glowed steadily, the holographic planets spinning in perfect harmony. Jonas stepped back, breathing heavily but smiling. He had done it. He had faced the ultimate test and prevailed. Lyrian approached, their expression now softer, more approving. You have succeeded, they said, not because you controlled the system, but because you understood it, respected it, and acted with wisdom. You have proven yourself worthy of this base and of the knowledge it holds. Jonas felt a sense of accomplishment deeper than anything he had experienced in his life. He had survived countless battles, faced death repeatedly, and endured hardships that had broken others. Yet here he had grown, not just as a soldier but as a thinker, a leader and a protector. Lyrian stepped aside, gesturing toward the main console. The base's control interface activated fully, revealing access to its vast knowledge and systems. Jonas realized that the base was no longer just a structure. It was a partner, a tool, and a source of immense potential. "You may use it," Lyrian said. "The choice is yours. Protect, explore, learn, or create. The base responds to those who act with integrity and insight. You have earned that trust." Jonas approached the console, running his hands over the controls. He could feel the energy of the base flowing through him, the information from centuries of research, exploration, and defense at his fingertips. He felt a responsibility, but also a sense of limitless possibility. "Thank you," he said quietly, glancing at Lyrian. "I won't waste this." Lyrian inclined their head. "I know, the universe is vast, and you have shown that humanity, with courage, insight, and respect, can rise to any challenge. You are ready to face what comes next." Jonas looked out through the base's observation deck at the galaxy beyond. Stars twinkled, planets rotated, and distant colonies thrived. He had begun as a war-weary veteran seeking solitude and escape. Now he was a guardian, a leader, and a partner to a living system far beyond human comprehension. For the first time, in years, he felt a sense of peace. Not because danger had ended, but because he had found purpose. The base was no longer abandoned. It was alive, connected, and waiting for him to explore its full potential. And Jonas knew that he would face the future with courage, wisdom, and the knowledge that he was part of something extraordinary. Lyrian watched him for a moment longer, then stepped back into the shadows of the control room. "Rest now," they said. "Tomorrow the galaxy awaits and your journey has only just begun." Jonas closed his eyes briefly, feeling the hum of the base beneath him, the pulse of life in every wall, and the connection that now linked him to the universe in ways he could never have imagined. He had come seeking an end, a place to die. Instead, he had found a beginning, a chance to protect, to learn, and to shape the future of countless worlds. When he opened his eyes, he smiled. The stars were vast, the galaxy was alive, and for the first time he understood that his life, his humanity, was the greatest weapon, the greatest tool, and the greatest gift he could offer. And in that moment, Jonas knew, without doubt, that he would never be the same. The war had ended, but a new mission had begun, and he was ready.